What's up everyone, Alex here. So that Nintendo Direct is brimming with so much new information and announcements that I just had to make a video summarizing some of my personal favorites. Now obviously this is going to have a ton of JRPG announcements, but we're also going to be talking about some of the games that we've been waiting for all this time to be announced or surfaced again. And the way that this video is going to be structured is we're going to be talking about those games that aren't quite JRPGs at the beginning of this video, and we're going to work our way towards JRPGs towards the end of this video. And I also want to share some of my thoughts about these announcements as well, because these are really exciting. This is probably like one of the best Nintendo Directs of the past several years, I think. Let me know in the comments below which announcement you're excited for, and let's get into the list. We're going to start off with the very last thing that they announced, which is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Of course, a lot of people started talking about like how is it 60 FPS on Switch? May I remind you, we were able to run Jak and Daxter in 60 frames per second on the PS2, and that had a lot going on for it as well. So this is not unheard of to try to get a game like Metroid Prime to run at 60 FPS on the Switch. Just putting it out there. Also, this is slated to come out in 2025, and it looks really amazing. Some people are already spreading rumors that this is going to be a Switch 2 launch, kind of game and stuff like that. Like, let's hold our horses before any sort of announcements, because while that sounds really exciting, let's not take away from the Switch owners who are currently able to play this game once, it comes out in 2025. Just hold your horses there for a second. Also, Capcom announced Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, which contains X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and The Punisher, which is really, okay, cool, The Punisher. Like, I played that in the arcade, but it's like, here are some great fighting games, and here's a beat 'em up. It's still really cool though. It's coming out on PS4, Switch, and PC, and it is coming out this year. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection is also coming out, and this will include the previously unreleased second game, which is now subtitled Prosecutor's Gambit. This will include new hand-drawn and classic pixel art, and it is coming out on September 6th on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. A really big surprise during this Direct was the announcement of the 100-line Last Defense Academy, which is a tower defense game made by the guys responsible for Danganronpa. You're supposed to protect the school for 100 days. You're going to have loss of allies, of course, because this is a Danganronpa-inspired game, probably. I don't know the storyline, but they did mention despair, so there's already your Danganronpa connection right there, and it is slated to come out in early 2025. I couldn't find any other platforms that this game is announced for, so let's just say that this is a Switch exclusive for the time being. But of course, if you've heard anything else, let me know in the comments below, okay? Phantom Brave is also getting a sequel with the subtitle The Lost Hero, and I've never really played Phantom Brave, but I'm pretty sure it has its fans. It's a tactical RPG, it's coming out in 2025, and it's going to be available on the Nintendo Switch. Now, much like 100-line Last Defense Academy, I haven't found any other platforms where this game was announced for. NIS hasn't sent me like any sort of like press release when it comes to this, so maybe, we'll see. One big surprise, and this is actually really, really cool, is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which basically returns us back to 2D Zelda. Except, of course, Link is nowhere to be found, and this is going to be Zelda's adventure. This is slated to come out on the 26th of September on the Nintendo Switch, of course, and when you look at this trailer, it's got a lot of those kind of procedural kind of things that you could do in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that's really, really cool. Essentially, you're going to be using these items to solve puzzles and explore dungeons, and it just looks really, really fresh, especially when compared to the Link's Awakening release that preceded this game. And my suspicion is that Link's Awakening, that 3D remake, is the precursor to this. They've been building towards making an original 2D Zelda game all this time, and this is their way of saying like, hey, in between 3D Zelda games, we're gonna pepper that with 2D Zeldas moving forward, and I think that's actually really, really smart. Fairy Tail 2 was also announced. Fairy Tail was a turn-based RPG that was released many years ago, which was helmed by Gust, who basically are responsible for the Atelier series, and they're slating this release to come out on PS4, PS5 Switch, and PC in winter 2024. Now, I like the original, but I'm hoping this game has a little bit more structure. One of the things that really confused me with the first game is how many characters you can really recruit. Like, there didn't seem to be like kind of an easy way to kind of know like, oh, this quest is actually going to get you a character and whatnot, because Fairy Tail is all about the guild, right? And I think if this is going to be also important in the sequel, they need to make it a little bit clearer. Either way, I'm hoping to see what the changes are and how different this game is going to be compared to the original. And it seems like this is going to be like a definitive end, because they're talking about this villain. I don't watch like Fairy Tail, so I don't know. It seems to be like it's like the ultimate bad guy of the series that you're going to be facing here. So that should be interesting for sure. So Farmagia has been talked about in the Marvelous Games Europe stream/video. I actually missed that one, but this is coming out on November 1st on PS5, Switch, and PC. And from what little I know and I've seen, it seems like Pikmin, because they talk about like how it's action and stuff, but the way that the characters kind of propagate and kind of function feel like Pikmin in a way. Of course, there's farming, and I think somebody on our Discord mentioned like, oh, like, wait, you're harvesting these characters? And I'm like, you know, I can kind of see that, because Pikmin is kind of the same way as well. It's an interesting concept. I definitely want to see a lot more, and probably after this direct, I'll probably want to see more and what they revealed during that one stream with Marvelous Games. So really excited for that. Of course, Nintendo also announced Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is coming out on November 7th on the Switch. So if you notice, the past year or so, we basically saw Super Mario RPG and of course the recently released Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake. And at least for me, I was thinking to myself, are we building up towards like a new Mario RPG? And of course, with today's announcement, the answer is absolutely yes. And this looks really exciting, right? Like, I've never really played any of the Mario and Luigi games, but this looks really fun, and I just can't wait to play this. Another surprise for this Nintendo Direct is the remake of Romancing Saga 2 called Revenge of the Seven. This is a full 3D remake that's coming out on October 24th on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Now, I do have this game on my Switch, like the, original mobile port that, of course, was brought over to the Switch. And I'm actually really happy that they're doing a 3D remake, because this is an opportunity to kind of fix some of the issues that the original had, and I just want more people to be able to play this game, including myself. And it just looks fantastic. Like, I can't wait to try out this game. And SaGa is always like a hit or miss for me, but I'm willing to check this out because this looks like really, really fun. We've all heard rumblings of Dragon Quest III HD 2D, but today's announcement kind of solidifies it, because it's going to be released on Switch, PS5, there's no PS4 logo, Series X and S, and PC on November 14th this year. Now, they didn't just stop there. They also teased Dragon Quest 1 and 2. And a lot of us have already thought like, okay, you guys are teasing a lot for Erdtrick's story. Are we going to finish the story? And the answer is yes. In fact, this is probably the reason why it took so long for Dragon Quest III HD 2D to be finished, because they were also working on Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D. And Square Enix has confirmed that it is coming out in 2025, those two other games. So you get to play the entire Erdtrick trilogy within a year, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. But to me, the ultimate announcement, and before you leave, because you might have heard about this already, I have some tidbits here that are really, really cool that, I think it's very poetic to me, and I think it's near and dear to my heart. It's the confirmation that Fantasian is finally coming out on other platforms as Fantasian Neo Dimension, and the platforms are PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. I interviewed Hironobu Sakaguchi several years ago, and I think I asked about voice acting, and he said something like, oh, we didn't have time or something like that. So when I saw the trailer, I was surprised to see that it has Japanese and English voice acting, and I'm like, that is the one thing that this game was like missing, is voice acting, and they're literally adding it to this version. They're also going to add 4K visuals and a normal difficulty scale, because the original game was a bit harsh. And by harsh, I mean it was a little bit grindy. But to counter that, like, I think that the gameplay of Fantasian is pretty addicting for a turn-based game. The fact that you can kind of arc your AoEs and stuff. The combo system is really, really cool. It's very unique that no other turn-based RPG has had, and banking all of your random encounters, because it is all random encounters, so that you can fight all of the enemies all at once is just so much fun, and it doesn't get in the way of your exploration. Of course, you can't bank everything. You'll eventually have to fight them all, but still, it's still really, really cool. And I'll tell you what, like, that AoE kind of bending of your trajectory is so addicting that I'm so happy that so many more people will get to play this game in winter 2024, again, on PlayStation platforms, Series X and S, PC, and Switch. But I saved the last bit about this game because I never thought this would ever happen, which is this game is being published by Square Enix. Let me say that again. This is a Hironobu Sakaguchi directed game in 2024 that's being released under the Square Enix banner. Wow. Like, honestly, like, when I saw that, I was more excited about that than anything else that was announced. I know that sounds really irrational, but it's like the return of the king, the return of the father of Final Fantasy to Square Enix. Now, I'm not saying that, like, all of a sudden Mistwalker and Square Enix are going to be, like, working together all the time and stuff. You know, if you watched my interview with Hironobu Sakaguchi and saw how he didn't actually know that people love to see him make a turn-based game, and for this game to be published by Square Enix, it's like a full circle moment that I feel is like just so poetic. And in case you missed it, I interviewed Hironobu Sakaguchi years back about Fantasian. And I remember him saying that one of his design principles when designing Fantasian is, what if Final Fantasy VII was this game? So if you're curious about his thoughts on Fantasian and JRPGs in general and his journey towards that point, I highly recommend checking out this video that I've linked right now and get hyped and get more excited about Fantasian before it comes out on consoles.